Now that we have our targeting reticule, it's time to create our stink attack game object or our stink attack emitter. Since our emitter is going to be very similar to our lightning attack emitter or our frost attack emitter, I'm just going to go ahead and copy one of those components. I'll just select the frost attack game object in the hierarchy window and right click on its particle system and select copy component. Now I'm going to go ahead and right click on the antenna game object and select create empty. And I'll name this stink attack. To add the particle system to stink attack, I'm just going to go ahead and click the cog in the upper right hand corner of the transform component, and I'm going to paste component as new. This is going to give me an exact replica of the frost attack, and now I can change it to be the stink attack. I'm going to go ahead and leave the duration the same, and looping and play on awake. It's going to have the same start lifetime, and the same start speed. Same goes for start size. Same goes for start size and start rotation. One thing I am going to change is I'm going to give this a different color. For this, I'm going to use the values 152, 107, 9. I'm going to take a look at the emission module, and I'm going to leave this at the same rate of 7.5. I can use the same shape module, and for the color over lifetime, I'm going to want to change that gradient. This time, we're going to add again what we could consider sickly colors or just very odd contrasting colors. Our starting color is going to have a value of 159, 67, 40. Then for our middle color, we're going to transition actually to a very bright yellow. I'm going to use the values of 209, 255, 0. I'm going to leave the last one as white. And so we can see that we go from this reddish brownish to this sort of greenish yellow, and then to white. Might also be helpful if we could actually see the particles on the screen, so let me go ahead and double click on Stink Attack, and we'll realign ourselves. The next module I want to change is going to be the Color by Speed module. Again, this one transitions a sort of blue color, which I'm going to modify. Instead, I'm going to use a color value of 218, 177, 90. Let's just check the size over lifetime, and those values look good. Now the particle system on our Stink Attack emitter is complete. However, that's not the only thing we're going to be applying to our Stink Attack game object. We also need to use our Stink Targeting Ring, as well as the Stink Attack script. I'm going to go ahead and add the Stink Attack script by clicking on Add Component, Scripts, and then finding the Stink Attack script. The Stink Attack script wants to know what the cooldown of the attack is, which we're going to leave at 5. The range of the attack, which I'm actually going to go up to 9, what the stink projectile is, which doesn't exist yet, and what the targeting reticule is. It also has 3 color values for what it's going to make the targeting reticule look like if our target is invalid, or if our attack is not ready, meaning it's still on cooldown, or if it's ready and good to go. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag my stink target ring, which is our targeting reticule, onto the Stink Attack game object, making it a child of that game object. Then I'm going to set its position on the X, Y, and Z axes to 0. Once the reticule is centered on the antenna, I'm just going to move it downward on the Z axis till it's close to the ground. Its exact position will not be necessary, as the first time this starts up, it's going to be placed by our mouse location. So it's not really important that it's spot on. I just like to keep it close in case we ever need to see it while we're working on this particle system. I'm going to go back to the Stink Attack script, and I'm going to click and drag the Stink Target Ring onto the Target Reticule. Now, since we don't want to start with this attack enabled, because again the lightning attack is the first attack enabled, I'm just going to disable this game object. I'm going to go over to the boy game object, and I'm going to look for the player attack script, and I'm going to drag the Stink Attack emitter onto the Stink Attack property of the player attack script. And I'll change my number of attacks to 3. Now obviously I won't be able to use my Stink Attack because I don't have a Stink projectile. Now I'm going to hit play so that we can see the targeting reticule in action. Now when I first switch over to the Stink Attack, we're going to notice that we can't actually see the target ring. If I were to select the target ring game object in the hierarchy view, and then click back in the window here, you can see down in the preview window that the color is being changed However, we're still unable to see it in our game view. The reason for this is actually a little obscure. What's effectively happening is our ground is covering up the targeting reticule. The reason is that the raycast that positions the mouse cursor in 3D space is penetrating into the ground a little bit and actually choosing a point that's just slightly under the surface. We can see this by looking at the negative value for the y-axis in the transform component. We can fix this, however, by going back to our stink target ring and then looking down at the renderer. Then we can go ahead and give this a little bit of a bump on its Z pivot. I'm going to give it a value of, say, around 0.05. Now I'm going to hit play and try it again. And we can see the targeted reticule now appears on top of the ground. All we had to do, again, was just offset its Z-axis. You can see also that the targeted reticule color changes when it goes beyond the range of the attack. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and create the stink projectile, which is going to go from the stink emitter to the stink hit, completing the attack, and then we can test it all out.